Imagine for a moment finding a potentially significant source of retirement income that you might have completely overlooked.
Hmm.
What if this money could be available to you, even if, your own lifetime earnings were maybe modest? Or if your partner is already retired and collecting? Or even if you've been divorced for years?
Right. Situations many people find themselves in. Right.
Exactly. What if just understanding a few key rules, sometimes ones that seem a bit counterintuitive, could unlock a level of financial security you hadn't really realized was possible?
Yeah.
That's exactly the treasure map we're following in today's deep dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Our whole purpose here, as you know, is to take that stack of information you might have, the articles, the official documents, maybe some research papers, and just distill it, make it clear, make it actionable knowledge.
Yep.
Today, we're diving into, well, an often misunderstood yet incredibly important area, Social Security spousal benefits. We've gathered insights from places like the Social Security Administration's own site, the National Council on Aging, AARP, financial experts at MFS Investment Management, and even legal resources like Right Law.
Good sources.
Solid sources. Our mission today, strip away the complexity, show you precisely how claiming benefits based on a partner's record works, clarify who's eligible under different circumstances, because it does vary, and really illuminate what this could genuinely mean for your retirement planning.
Okay, let's unpack this then. We're going to start right at the beginning. What are these spousal benefits, and I guess why do they even exist?
Good starting point.
Then we'll meticulously walk through the specific requirements,
Yeah.
what you need to meet, whether you're currently married or divorced, because you mentioned the rules have some crucial differences.
Very important differences, yeah.
We'll spend plenty of time on the numbers, how your potential benefit is calculated, why when you claim is so incredibly important, and how claiming early leads to those permanent reductions.
That word permanent is key.
Absolutely. And finally, we'll tackle the practical questions and, bust some of those pervasive myths about working while receiving benefits, how the application process works, and particularly for divorced individuals, maybe clear up some anxiety about how a claim might affect an ex-spouse.
Yeah, that comes up a lot.
Our goal is just to arm you with the knowledge you need to approach this part of Social Security with confidence.
Okay, so let's lay the groundwork. What are Social Security spousal benefits at their core? You should think of them as like a fundamental component of Social Security's original mission, which was really to provide a safety net for families, not just individual workers on their own.
Right, the family unit.
Exactly. And interestingly, while the initial Social Security Act was signed way back in 1935, these spousal benefits, they weren't actually part of it right away.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were added just a few years later, in 1939. And this amendment, it was a crucial recognition of the economic realities of that time, particularly the fact that, many households relied primarily on one earner.
Sure, that was common then.
Very common, leaving the non-earning or maybe lower-earning spouse with limited or sometimes no individual Social Security entitlement based on their own work history.
That historical context is fascinating. So it wasn't an afterthought, but it was a relatively quick addition to address a real need in society back then.
Pretty quick, yeah. And it speaks to that core concept.
Oh.
Supporting the household unit, even if one person didn't earn much or maybe didn't work outside the home at all.
So the basic idea, right?
Yeah, the core concept is pretty straightforward. It allows an eligible spouse, or importantly, even a qualifying ex-spouse, to get a monthly benefit payment. And that payment is based on their partner's or former partner's earnings record. Potentially instead of, or sometimes, in addition to, a benefit based on their own work history. It's a way to ensure that maybe years spent caring for a family or working in a lower paid field or just not accumulating enough work credits yourself doesn't leave someone without any Social Security income in retirement.
It really sounds like it's designed to lift the retirement income floor for couples and for those divorced folks who qualify too.
That's a great way to put it, lifting the floor.
And this isn't some obscure rule affecting only a handful of people, is it? I mean, the sources really highlight the sheer number of lives this touches.
Oh, far from obscure. It's a major piece of the whole Social Security puzzle. One piece of research we looked at, I think from the National Council on Aging, pointed out that roughly 1.9 million people across the country are currently receiving spousal benefits.
Wow, 1.9 million. That's a lot of people.
It really is. Think about that. Nearly 2 million people are relying on this specific benefit right now. And while the amount, it varies hugely depending on the partner's earnings history and crucially, the claiming age of the spouse getting the benefit.
Right, the timing.
The average monthly spousal benefit cited in the sources we saw is around $887.
$887 a month on average.
Yeah. Now, look, $887 a month might not sound like a fortune to everyone. I get that. But for many, especially folks with minimal or maybe no other retirement savings, or those who are full-time caregivers for years, that amount can represent a really critical portion of their total retirement income.
It could be the difference between just scraping by and having a little breathing room.
Exactly. It can make a huge difference. And it's precisely because it impacts so many people and can be so meaningful that understanding these rules is just vital.
That average number is a powerful reminder of that safety net aspect. For almost 2 million people, that average $887 is a tangible piece of their monthly financial stability. Okay, so we get what spousal benefits are, why they were created. Now, let's dive into the really crucial question. Who is actually eligible to claim these? Let's start by breaking down the requirements for people who are currently married.
Right. Good place to start. For current spouses, there are several key conditions you generally need to meet to claim a benefit based on your, let's say, your husband or wife's record.
Okay.
First, the spouse whose record you'd be claiming on, let's call them the worker spouse for simplicity.
Makes sense.
They must already be eligible for Social Security retirement or disability benefits. So eligibility for retirement benefits usually starts at age 62, or they could be getting disability benefits at any age. That's step one.
Okay, so the worker has to be eligible.
Step two, and this is a point that sometimes trips people up. For you, the spouse, to actually collect a spousal benefit on their record, the worker spouse must have actually filed for their own retirement or disability benefits.
Ah, okay, so they can't just be eligible. They have to have pulled the trigger and applied themselves.
Generally, yes, for current spouses. You usually can't start collecting a spousal benefit if your currently married partner is eligible, but has maybe chosen to delay claiming their own benefit, perhaps to let it grow.
Okay, so they have to be eligible and they have to have filed. Got it.
Yeah.
What about the spouse who wants to claim the spousal benefit? What are their requirements?
Right. For the spouse who's claiming, you must generally be at least age 62 yourself.
Okay, 62.
Yeah. Social Security retirement benefits, and that includes spousal benefits, typically can't start before age 62, unless, that is, you meet specific exceptions, which we should definitely talk about.
We will. Anything else for the claiming spouse?
Yes. There's also a marriage duration requirement for current spouses. You must have been married to your partner for at least one continuous year.
1 year. Okay. So to recap for current spouses, worker spouse eligible, worker spouse has filed, you are at least 62, and you've been married for at least one continuous year.
That's the baseline, yes.
Now, you mentioned exceptions to that age 62 rule for the claiming spouse. What are those? That sounds important.
Yes, there is a significant and very important exception, particularly relevant for individuals who might have been full-time caregivers. You can potentially qualify for a spousal benefit at any age year. I mean, even well before 62.
Wow.
If you are currently caring for a child of your spouse.
Yeah.
And that child must be either under age 16 or have a disability that began before age 22.
Okay, under 16 or disabled before 22.
Right. And one more piece to that. The child must also be receiving benefits based on your spouse's record. So the worker spouse's record.
Okay, so the child is also drawing benefits.
Correct. If you meet this specific condition, caring for that qualifying child who's getting benefits, not only can you qualify at any age, but you're also eligible for the maximum possible spousal benefit amount. That's the full 50% of your spouse's full retirement age benefit amount, with no reduction for claiming before your own FRA.
That's a powerful provision. It really recognizes the value of that caregiving role within the family structure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic benefit for those caregivers. It really highlights that family support structure baked into Social Security. It's not just about individual work history.
Yeah, it's about the family unit. Okay, let's shift gears now. What about the rules for divorced individuals? This is an area where I know there's often a lot of confusion and, frankly, probably some anxiety too.
You're absolutely right. The rules for divorced spouses are distinct, and they really do provide a pathway to benefits for many people who might incorrectly assume, we got divorced, so that's it.
Right, assuming the tie is completely cut.
Exactly. But it's crucial to understand these rules. For a qualifying divorced spouse to potentially claim benefits on an ex-spouse's record, here are the main requirements. First, the marriage must have lasted for at least 10 consecutive years.
10 years. That's a hard threshold.
It's a hard rule. 10 consecutive years.
Yeah.
If your marriage was 9 years and, say, 11 months, unfortunately, you don't qualify under this specific rule.
Okay, 10 years straight. Got it.
Second, you must be unmarried when you apply for these benefits.
Unmarried. Okay.
Remarrying generally ends your eligibility on a previous ex-spouse's record. We can talk more about remarriage later, but for the initial application, you need to be unmarried.
Makes sense. What else?
Third, you must be at least age 62 yourself, just like current spouses.
Okay, 62 again.
And fourth, your ex-spouse must also be at least age 62.
Right, so both of you need to be at least 62. Okay, so for divorced spouses, marriage lasted 10 plus consecutive years, you're currently unmarried, you are at least 62, and your ex is at least 62.
That's the checklist.
Now, are there any differences regarding whether the ex-spouse needs to be actually collecting their own Social Security benefit?
Yeah.
You mentioned for current spouses, their partner has to have filed. Is it different for exes?
Yes, and this is a critical difference for divorced spouses. It's really designed to provide more independence. Unlike with currently married couples, if you meet all those requirements for divorced spouse benefits, your ex-spouse does not have to be currently collecting their retirement benefits for you to potentially claim on their record.
Whoa, okay. That's huge. So they could be delaying their own benefits until 70, but I could potentially start claiming on their record at my age 62, assuming we meet the other rules.
Potentially, yes. But there's one important condition attached to that independence. This only applies if you have been divorced for at least 2 years.
Ah, the 2-year rule. Okay.
Right. If the divorce is less than 2 years old, then yes, your ex-spouse does still need to have filed for their benefits before you can collect on their record, similar to current spouses. But once you hit that 2-year mark post-divorce, their claiming status doesn't stop you from applying if you meet the other criteria.
That 2-year waiting period is very specific, but it makes a world of difference for planning. It means someone could potentially access benefits even if their ex is delaying claiming their own. That's really significant independence.
It is. It prevents one person's claiming strategy from completely blocking the other person's potential benefit after a reasonable separation period.
So if I meet these criteria as a divorced spouse, 10-year marriage, unmarried, we're both 62 plus, divorced 2+ years, how does SSA figure out the benefit amount? Is it calculated differently than for a current spouse?
No, and that's another key point that should offer some reassurance. Social Security treats a qualifying divorced spouse exactly the same as a current spouse when it comes to calculating the amount of spousal benefit you could receive based on the worker's earnings record. The calculation mechanics, the percentages, the reductions for age, they're identical.
That's good to know. Equal footing in terms of the calculation. Now, you mentioned remarriage earlier. What happens if a divorced person, maybe they were collecting benefits on their ex's record, decides to get married again later on? Does that permanently kill their eligibility on that first ex's record?
Generally, yes. If you remarry after becoming eligible for, or maybe while you're collecting benefits on a previous ex-spouse's record, you usually lose that eligibility.
Yeah.
Your potential spousal benefit eligibility would then shift to your new current spouse's record, assuming you meet the requirements based on that marriage, like the 1-year duration rule we talked about.
Okay, so remarriage typically switches your eligibility to the new spouse. But is that loss of eligibility on the first ex always permanent?
Not necessarily forever, no. If that subsequent marriage, the one you entered into later, ends, whether it's through death, divorce, or maybe an annulment, you could potentially regain eligibility for benefits on the previous ex-spouse's record.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, provided you still meet all the other criteria again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like being unmarried again, being old enough, the 10-year rule on that first marriage still applies, etc. So life circumstances can potentially reopen that door.
That's really good to know. There are potential pathways back depending on how things play out. Okay, now, a very, very common scenario. What if I have worked throughout my life? I have my own earnings record. I'm eligible for my own Social Security retirement benefit. How does that interact with these potential spousal benefits? Do I get both, my own plus a spousal benefit? Did they just add them together?
That is probably the most frequently asked question in this whole area. The answer is generally no. You do not receive both benefits as separate checks that are simply added together to make one big payment.
Okay, so no stacking.
No stacking in that way. What Social Security does is they calculate 2 potential benefit amounts for you. First, the retirement benefit you're eligible for based on your own lifetime earnings record. Second, the spousal benefit you're eligible for based on your partner's or maybe your ex-partner's record.
Okay, they figure out both numbers.
Right. They calculate both amounts you could get at that specific time, considering your age and their records. Then they will pay you the higher of those two amounts.
Ah, so it's about getting the single largest amount you're entitled to at that point, not combining multiple benefits.
Precisely. Social Security's goal is to ensure you receive the maximum benefit you're eligible for from any source, but you don't typically pile one type of benefit directly on top of another in this spousal context.
Okay.
Now, there can be some nuanced situations. Sometimes people call them top-ups. If your own earned benefit is, say, less than the spousal amount you're eligible for at your claiming age, Social Security essentially pays you your own benefit, plus the difference needed to bring you up to the spousal amount.
Okay, so the end result is still getting that higher spousal benefit amount.
Exactly. The net result is still that you receive the highest single total amount you qualify for. The system automatically figures out which benefit path gives you more money each month and pays you that amount. It really acts as that safety net, ensuring that if your own earnings history would provide a lower benefit than what you're entitled to as a spouse, you receive that higher spousal amount instead.
That clarifies it significantly. It's about optimizing your potential income, not doubling up.
Yeah.
Good. Now, what about same-sex couples or individuals maybe in registered domestic partnerships or civil unions? Are they treated the same way under these rules?
Absolutely. And this is a point the sources make very clear, and it's important. Thanks to the Supreme Court decision back in 2015, the one recognizing marriage equality nationwide.
Obergefell v. Hodges, right?
That's the one. Social Security benefits for same-sex spouses and qualifying same-sex ex-spouses are administered exactly the same way as for any other couple. All the rules we've just discussed, age, marriage duration, divorce rules, calculations, they apply equally.
Okay, full equality there. What about those other relationship statuses, like domestic partnerships?
Yeah, that's a bit more nuanced because it depends on state law. But depending on the specific laws of the state where the relationship was established, individuals in registered domestic partnerships, civil unions, or even some common law marriages may be eligible for spousal or survivor benefits.
So it's possible.
It's possible. The Social Security Administration actually encourages anyone in these types of relationships who thinks they might be eligible to go ahead and apply. Don't self-censor based on the relationship title. Let the agency evaluate the specific case based on the relevant state laws and the circumstances.
That's a really strong message. When in doubt, apply. Let SSA make the call. Okay, it sounds like eligibility has broadened significantly over the years. Now that we've covered who might be eligible, let's get into the numbers. This can feel like the most complex part for a lot of people. How exactly is my potential spousal benefit amount calculated?
Right, the numbers. This is where understanding a couple of key terms is absolutely essential. The foundation, the starting point for your spousal benefit calculation, is always based on your spouse's or ex-spouse's primary insurance amount, usually abbreviated as PIA.
PIA. Okay, what is that exactly?
Their PIA is the monthly benefit amount they are entitled to receive if they claim their own retirement benefit precisely at their full retirement age, or FRA.
So it's their full unreduced benefit amount based on their whole lifetime of earnings.
Exactly. It represents 100% of the benefit they earned through their work history, payable at their specific full retirement age.
Okay. So my potential spousal benefit is based on what my partner could receive at their FRA, not necessarily the actual maybe reduced amount they might be getting if they claimed early, or the increased amount if they claimed late.
Precisely. That is a crucial distinction that often confuses people. Your maximum potential spousal benefit is pegged to 50% of their PIA, regardless of their own actual claiming decision relative to their FRA.
So if they took benefits early at 62 and got a reduced check, that doesn't lower the bar for my potential spousal benefit.
Correct. Their decision to claim early or late doesn't change that 50% base amount that's potentially available for you based on their record. That base is always calculated from their full PIA.
Okay, that's clearer. But my age, when I decide to actually claim the spousal benefit, that definitely matters for the amount I get, right?
Oh, absolutely. This is perhaps the single most impactful factor you control in determining the actual monthly dollar amount you will receive as a spousal benefit. While your maximum potential is that 50% of their PIA, you only receive that full 50% if and only if you claim your spousal benefit exactly at your own full retirement age.
My FRA, not theirs.
Your FRA. If you claim your spousal benefit before you reach your own FRA, that 50% maximum amount will be permanently reduced.
Permanently reduced. Okay, this word sounds serious. What exactly is my full retirement age? How do I know what it is? And how does claiming before it actually reduce my benefit?
Right. Your full retirement age, or FRA, is the age when you become eligible for 100% of your own Social Security retirement benefit if you have one, or the maximum unreduced spousal benefit, which is that 50% of your partner's PIA.
Okay.
And it's determined solely by your birth year. The sources provide charts showing this, and you can easily find it on the SSA website. But just for a quick overview, for people born between 1943 and 1954, the FRA is age 66.
Okay, 66 for that group.
For those born in 1960 or later, the FRA is age 67.
67 for younger folks. What about in between?
For birth years between 1955 and 1959, the FRA increases gradually by 2 months for each year. So if you were born in 1955, your FRA is 66 and 2 months. Born in 1956, it's 66 and 4 months, and so on, until it hits 67 for everyone born in 1960 or later.
So knowing my specific FRA based on my birth year is step one. Okay, now explain the reduction. How much is it reduced if I claim early, and how do they calculate that? Sounds complicated.
It involves some fractions, but let's break it down. Social Security calculates the reduction based on the number of months you claim before your specific FRA. The formula they use, which is mentioned in the sources, is a reduction of 2,536 of 1% for each month you claim early, up to the first 76 months early.
Okay, 2,536 of 1% per month for the first 3 years early.
Right. If you claim more than 36 months before your FRA, the reduction for those additional months beyond the initial 36 is calculated as a slightly different rate, 512 of 1% per month.
512 of 1% for months beyond 3 years early.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Those fractions, they sound a bit abstract. Can you maybe walk through a concrete example to show the actual impact?
Absolutely. A real example makes it much clearer. Let's use the one provided in the sources we looked at. Imagine your spouse, or maybe your ex-spouse, has a PIA, their full retirement age benefit amount of $1,600 per month.
Okay, $1,600 PIA.
The maximum spousal benefit potentially available to you if you wait until your FRA to claim it would be 50% of that $1,600, which is $800 per month.
Right, $800 is the max potential. Now, let's say your FRA is 67, but you decide you want or need to claim your spousal benefit as early as possible, which is age 62.
Okay, FRA 67, claiming at 62, that's 5 years early.
Exactly, 5 years, which is 60 months before your FRA. Now we apply the reduction formula. The first 36 months are reduced by 2,536 of 1% each month. So 36 months times 2,536% equals a 25% reduction.
Okay, 25% reduction for the first 3 years.
Right. Now, you claimed 60 months early, and we've accounted for 36. So there are 24 months remaining. 60, 36 equals 24.
Got it.
These next 24 months are reduced by 512 of 1% each month. So 24 months times 512% equals a 10% reduction.
Another 10% for those extra 2 years.
Exactly. So the total reduction is 25% plus 10%, which equals 35%.
A 35% reduction from the maximum $800.
Correct. So your reduced spousal benefit claimed at age 62 with an FRA of 67 would be $800 minus 35% of $800. 35% of $800 is $280. So 800 minus 280 equals $520 per month.
Wow. So claiming 5 years early reduces that potential $800 benefit all the way down to $520. That's nearly a $300 difference every single month permanently. That illustrates the impact really starkly.
It absolutely does. The amount of the reduction depends entirely on how many months early you claim relative to your specific FRA. The sources also give some general percentages, like for someone with that FRA of 67, claiming spousal right at 62 results in a benefit that's only 32.5% of the worker's PIA instead of the full 50%. Our calculation showed 35% reduction from the 50%, leaving 65% of the $800, which is $520. And $500 is indeed 32.5% of the original $1,600 PIA. So the math checks out. If your FRA was 66, claiming at 62 results in a benefit that's 35% of the worker's PIA.
It really hammers home how much claiming before your FRA shrinks that 50% maximum potential.
Okay, what about the flip side? What if I delay claiming my spousal benefit past my FRA? Does it increase like my own retirement benefit would with delayed retirement credits? That's another key point of distinction, and the answer is no. While delaying claiming your own retirement benefit past your FRA does earn you delayed retirement credits, currently 8% per year increase up to age 70.
Right, that's a significant boost for your own benefit.
It is, but delaying your spousal benefit claim past your own FRA does not increase the amount. The maximum spousal benefit is firmly capped at 50% of your partner's PIA. You achieve that maximum by claiming your spousal benefit right at your own FRA. There is absolutely no financial advantage in terms of the spousal benefit amount itself for delaying a spousal claim beyond your FRA.
Okay, that is critical knowledge. Claiming early reduces it permanently. Claiming at FRA gets you the max 50%. Claiming late doesn't increase it beyond that 50%. That really helps frame the decision about when to apply. Let's try using a more detailed example now, maybe like that Claire case study mentioned in one of the sources, I think it was Fidelity, that seemed to tie together the own benefit, spousal benefit, FRA, and claiming age really well.
Excellent idea. The Claire example is perfect because it brings in that common complexity of having your own work record and also being potentially eligible for spousal benefits, in her case, from an ex-spouse.
Okay, lay out Claire's situation.
All right. So Claire was born in 1961. That means her full retirement age, her FRA, is 67.
Okay, FRA 67.
Based on her own work history, she earned a primary insurance amount, a PIA, of $1,000 per month.
$1,000 PIA on her own record.
Right. She was also married for 17 years, so that meets the 10-year requirement. And she's now divorced from an ex-spouse whose PIA is significantly higher. It's $2,400 per month.
Okay, ex-spouse has a $2,400 PIA. So right off the bat, we know the maximum potential spousal benefit Claire could ever get if she claims it exactly at her FRA of 67 is 50% of that $2,400, which is $1,200 per month.
Correct. $1,200 is her maximum potential spousal benefit target. Now let's look at how her claiming age impacts what she actually receives, always keeping in mind that SSA will pay her the higher of her own benefit or the spousal benefit she's eligible for at that age.
All right, scenario 1. Claire considers claiming early, say at age 64.
Okay, age 64. First, let's figure out her own retirement benefit if she claims at 64. Her FRA is 67, so claiming at 64 is 3 years, or 36 months early. The reduction for claiming her own benefit 36 months early when her FRA is 67, well, the standard SSA charts show that results in receiving 80% of her PIA.
Okay, 80% of her own $1,000 PIA.
Right, so 80% of $1,000 is $800. That's her own reduced benefit at age 64.
$800 on her own record. Now, what about the spousal benefit at 64?
Our maximum potential spousal benefit is $1,200. Claiming spousal benefits at 64 with an FRA of 67 is also 3 years, 36 months early. Now, we use the spousal reduction formula we talked about, 25/36 of 1% per month for those 36 months. That comes out to a 25% reduction from the maximum spousal amount of $1,200.
Great, 25% reduction on the $1,200.
Right, 25% of $1,200 is $300. So her reduced spousal benefit at age 64 would be $1,200 minus $300, which equals $900.
Okay, so at age 64, Claire would be eligible for $800 on her own record, which is reduced, and $900 on her ex's record, also reduced.
Right, so
Social Security pays her the higher amount, right?
Exactly. They compare the $800 and the $900, and they pay her the $900. So by claiming at 64, she gets $900 a month, which is the reduced spousal benefit amount, because it's higher than her own reduced benefit.
Got it. $900 a month if she starts at 64. Now, scenario 2. What if Claire waits and claims right at her full retirement age of 67?
Okay, waited to 67. Her own retirement benefit at her FRA is her full PIA, no reductions. So that's $1,000.
$1,000 on her own.
Her spousal benefit claimed at her FRA is the full unreduced maximum amount. 50% of her ex's PIA, which we already calculated, is $1,200.
$1,200 on the spousal side.
So now SSA compares the $1,000, her own full benefit, and the $1,200, her full spousal benefit. They pay the higher amount. In this case, she receives $1,200 per month by waiting until age 67.
Wow. Okay, that's a $300 per month difference compared to claiming at 64, $1,200 versus $900. That's significant. Over, say, a decade of retirement, that's an extra $36,000 just by waiting those 3 years. 300 months, 12 months, 10 years. That really brings home the impact of claiming early versus waiting for FRA.
It absolutely does. Waiting just those 3 years adds significant and, importantly, permanent income in her situation. Now, let's push it one step further. Scenario 3. What if Claire decides to wait even longer and claims at age 70?
Okay, delaying past FRA to age 70. What happens then?
Well, her own retirement benefit continues to grow past her FRA of 67 because of those delayed retirement credits we mentioned. For someone with an FRA of 67, delaying from 67 to 70 is 3 full years. Each year earns an 8% credit. So 3 years times 8% per year equals a 24% increase above her PIA.
Okay, 24% boost on her $1,000 PIA.
Right, so her own benefit would be $1,000 plus 24% of $1,000, $240, which comes out to $1,240 per month.
$1,240 based on her own record, thanks to delaying. Now, what about the spousal benefit at age 70?
As we discussed, the spousal benefit does not increase past her FRA. It maxed out at that $1,200, 50% of the ex's PIA, when she reached age 67. So at age 70, the potential spousal benefit is still $1,200.
It doesn't grow with delays. Got it.
So now, at age 70, SSA compares her own benefit with the delayed credits, $1,240, and the maximum spousal benefit, $1,200. They pay the higher amount. In this scenario, Claire receives $1,240 per month.
Wow. This is fascinating. So by waiting until 70, her own benefit, boosted by those delayed retirement credits, finally overtook the maximum spousal benefit she could have gotten. This Claire example is just a perfect illustration of the strategic decision-making involved here.
Yeah, it really is.
Claiming early, like at 64, gets you income sooner, but you accept a significantly and permanently reduced amount, $900. Waiting until your own FRA, 67, can unlock the full spousal benefit if that happens to be higher than your own at that point. And waiting even longer up to age 70 only increases your own benefit, 1244, potentially making that the highest amount you receive.
It beautifully shows the trade-offs, doesn't it? There's no single best age that applies to everyone. It depends entirely on your specific numbers, your own PIA, your partner's or ex's PIA, your FRA, and then your personal factors like how much you need the income now versus later, your health, etc. The Claire example just underscores why you absolutely need to look at both your own potential benefit and the spousal benefit potential on your partner's or ex-partner's record.
That deep dive into the calculation and using Claire really makes the mechanics much, much clearer. Okay, now that we've got a better handle on the mechanics, let's move into some really practical considerations. And importantly, let's clear up some persistent myths about spousal benefits. This is where I think some of the most common questions and, frankly, anxieties tend to lie.
Agreed. Let's tackle them.
The biggest one I hear, hands down, is, if I claim a spousal benefit, does it reduce my partner's Social Security check or my ex-partner's check?
Okay, this is probably the most crucial myth to debunk, and we can do so definitively, forcefully, based on everything in the sources. Let's be absolutely crystal clear. Claiming a spousal benefit based on your current spouse's or your qualifying ex-spouse's earnings record does not, under any circumstances, reduce or affect their Social Security benefit amount.
Not at all.
Not one penny. Period. Full stop. Your claim is entirely separate and independent from theirs. It doesn't decrease their monthly payment. It doesn't impact their ability to earn delayed retirement credits if they choose to wait. And it doesn't prevent any other eligible family members, like maybe a current spouse if you're divorced, or dependent children in some cases, from also collecting benefits on that same record if they meet the criteria.
That has got to be such a relief for so many people listening, especially, I imagine, in the context of divorce where finances can already be tense.
It's a relief.
So just to follow up on that for divorced folks, if I'm claiming on an ex-spouse's record, they won't even be notified by Social Security that I'm doing this. They won't know.
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah.
If you are claiming as a qualifying divorced spouse, meeting the 10-year marriage, unmarried, age requirements, etc., Social Security will not notify your ex-spouse that you have applied for or that you are receiving benefits based on their earnings record.
Wow.
They will not know, they cannot object to it, they cannot block your claim in any way, and you absolutely do not need their permission or even need to discuss it with them if you don't want to.
That is incredibly important and honestly empowering information for divorced individuals. It removes what could be a major potential barrier or source of anxiety.
It really does. Your eligibility is based entirely on the law and their past work history during your marriage, not on their current feelings or your current relationship with them.
Okay, fantastic clarification there. Going back to currently married couples for a sec, does my partner's decision about when they claim their benefit, like early at 62 at their FRA or late at 70, affect the amount of my spousal benefit? We established my spousal benefit is based on their PIA, their FRA amount, not their actual check. But does their timing affect my amount?
You're right. Their claiming age relative to their FRA doesn't change the fundamental 50% of their PIA that serves as the base for your potential spousal benefit calculation. That base remains the same regardless of when they claim.
Okay.
However, as we mentioned earlier, there's that practical trigger. For current spouses, your partner generally needs to have actually filed for their own retirement or disability benefits before you can begin collecting a spousal benefit on their record.
Right, the filing requirement.
Exactly. So while their decision to claim early or late doesn't alter the pool from which your spousal benefit is calculated, their PIA, their action of filing is typically a prerequisite for you to start receiving your spousal benefit if you are currently married.
But that's not the case for divorced spouses who meet that 2+ year divorce rule, right? They don't need the ex to have filed.
Correct. That's another layer of independence specifically granted to qualifying divorced spouses after they've been divorced for at least 2 years. For them, the ex just needs to be eligible, age 62 plus usually, not necessarily collecting.
Okay, that filing step is a really key difference between married and certain divorce situations. Good distinction. Now, what about working? Can I work while I'm receiving spousal benefits, or will that mess things up? Will my benefits get cut?
You absolutely can continue to work while receiving spousal benefits. Many people do. However, and this is a big however, If you are under your own full retirement age, FRA, your spousal benefits might be subject to something called the Social Security Retirement Earnings Test.
The earnings test. Okay, I've heard of that. How does that work and what are the limits? Are they high?
The earnings test basically sets an annual limit on how much you can earn from working before Social Security starts to temporarily withhold some of your benefits. The sources provided the limits for 2024, and they estimate for 2025. For 2024, if you were under your FRA for the entire year, that earnings limit was $22,320. For 2025, the estimate is $23,400.
Okay, around 23K a year if you're under FRA all year. What happens if you earn more than that?
If your earnings go over that limit, Social Security will withhold $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above the limit.
$1 withheld for every $2 over.
Okay.
Now, there's a different, much higher limit that applies only in the specific calendar year in which you reach your full retirement age.
Okay. A special rule for the year you hit FRA.
Right. In that year, for the months before the month you actually reach your FRA, the 2025 estimated limit is much higher, $62,160. And the withholding rule is also different for earnings over that limit in those specific months. Social Security will withhold $1 in benefits for every $3 you earn over that higher limit.
1 for 3 over the higher limit, just in the months before FRA in that specific year. That's quite specific.
It is. They try to ease the transition as you approach FRA.
So let's say I'm 63, my FRA is 67. I'm collecting a spousal benefit. And in 2025, I earned $30,000 from a part-time job. That's more than the estimated $23,400 limit for being under FRA all year. How much would they actually withhold from my benefits?
Okay, good example. Using the estimated 2025 limits, you earn $30,000. The limit for someone under FRA all year is $23,400. So you earn $6,600 over the limit. $30,000, $23,400, $600.
Right, $6,600. Since you're under FRA for the full year, the rule is $1 withheld for every $2 earned over the limit. So they would withhold $6,600 divided by 2, which equals $3,300.
So they'd hold back $3,300 of my total annual benefits. How does that actually happen? Do they just stop checks?
They typically withhold it by reducing or skipping some of your monthly checks throughout the year until that $3,300 amount is accounted for. They'll notify you about how it works.
Okay. So working while collecting before FRA can definitely reduce your current benefits if you earn enough. But is that withheld money just lost forever?
No, and that's a really important point. The money withheld due to the earnings test isn't permanently lost. Social Security keeps track of the amount withheld. Once you reach your full retirement age, they typically recalculate your monthly benefit amount, giving you credit for the months you didn't receive a full benefit because of those earnings. Essentially, it's like you claim slightly later, so your ongoing benefit amount can increase slightly at FRA to account for those withheld benefits.
So the earnings test doesn't just make the money vanish, it sort of defers it and gives you credit later. That's much better than just losing it.
Much better. It's a temporary reduction, not a permanent loss.
Yeah.
And the really great news is, once you reach your full retirement age, the earnings test completely disappears, vanishes.
Oof, gone.
Gone. You can earn any amount of money from a part-time gig to a full-blown second career, and your Social Security benefits, including any spousal benefits you're receiving, will not be reduced or withheld by even a single dollar because of your earnings.
That provides a huge amount of flexibility once you hit that magical FRA number. Complete freedom to earn whatever you want without penalty.
Exactly.
Now, is there any way my spouse's work could impact my spousal benefit? Other than, enabling my claim by filing in the first place if we're married?
Yes, there is one specific scenario where their work could impact your benefit. And it ties back to that earnings test again.
Oh.
If your spouse is working and they are under their own full retirement age and their own Social Security benefit is being reduced or withheld because their earnings exceed the limit.
So if the earnings test is hitting them.
Right. Then any spousal benefits being paid off of their record, including yours, might also be reduced or withheld proportionally. It kind of makes sense logically. If the source benefit, theirs, is being impacted by the earnings test, then the derivative benefit, yours the spousal benefit, can be impacted too.
That does make sense, like a domino effect.
Sort of. But again, this only applies if they are under their FRA and their earnings are high enough to trigger the test for them. If your spouse is over their FRA or maybe just not working enough to hit the limit, then their work won't affect your spousal benefit amount at all.
Got it. So it's a specific situation related to them being under FRA and earning over the limit. Okay, this is getting really detailed, which is fantastic. Let's touch on something that used to be a popular but pretty complex strategy, the whole file and switch idea or filing a restricted application. Is that still a thing people can do?
Ugh. Ah, yes. The famous, or maybe infamous, file and switch strategy. The short answer is generally no, not anymore for most people. The Bipartisan Budget Act of 2015 significantly changed the rules around this.
Okay, Congress changed it back in 2015. What did it used to allow?
Well, before that 2015 law, it was possible for someone who had reached their full retirement age to do a couple of clever things. One strategy was they could file for just their spousal benefit, letting their own retirement benefit continue to grow with delayed credits until age 70, and then switch to their own higher benefit later. Another related strategy, sometimes called file and suspend, allowed someone at FRA to file for their own benefit, enabling their spouse to claim a spousal benefit off that filing, but then immediately suspend their own benefit to let it earn delayed credits.
Those sound like potentially valuable strategies for maximizing household benefits.
They could be, yes. But they were also complex, and Congress decided to close those loopholes, primarily affecting people born after January 1st, 1954.
Okay, so for most listeners likely approaching retirement now, born after January 1st, 1954, those specific strategies are off the table. You can't strategically file for just one type of benefit now and plan to switch to a different, larger one later in the same way?
Correct. For folks born after that date, the system works differently now. When you apply for Social Security benefits, the system automatically looks at all the different types of benefits you might be eligible for at that moment, based on your age, your work record, your marital status, your spouse's status, etc. It considers your own retirement benefit, any potential spousal benefit.
It looks at everything you might qualify for.
Yes, and it will automatically pay you the highest single amount you are eligible for at that time. This is sometimes called deemed filing. You're deemed to be filing for all eligible benefits simultaneously.
So I don't choose which one to take. SSA just gives me the best one.
Essentially, yes, they give you the highest benefit you're entitled to when you file. For instance, if you apply before your spouse has filed for their benefits and you're eligible for your own retirement benefit, you'll likely start receiving that. But then, once your spouse does file, Social Security will automatically reevaluate your situation. If the spousal benefit you're now eligible for, based on your age, is higher than what you were getting on your own record, or if it provides a top-up amount, they will automatically adjust your benefit upwards.
So I don't need to file a special form to switch later. The system catches it when my spouse files.
Correct. The system is designed to handle this comparison and adjustment for you automatically under the current rules for people born after Jan 1st, 1954.
Okay, well, that certainly simplifies things, even if it removed some optimization strategies that existed before. It sounds like less complex maneuvering is needed now.
It generally is simpler for the applicant, yes.
What about individuals who worked in jobs that didn't pay into Social Security? Like some state or local government positions, maybe teachers in some states, or federal employees under the old system. Can they still receive a spousal benefit based on a partner who did pay into Social Security?
That's another area with its own specific complex rules. But eligibility for a spousal benefit might still be possible in some cases. The sources mention things like the Social Security Fairness Act, which relates to this. Even if you receive a pension from what Social Security calls non-covered employment, basically, a job where you didn't pay Social Security tax.
Right, a government pension, for example.
Exactly. You may still be eligible for a spousal benefit based on your partner's Social Security record. However, and this is a big however, it's really important to be aware that your government pension might significantly affect the amount of your spousal benefit. There are two provisions called the Government Pension Offset, GPO, and the Windfall Elimination Provision, WEP, that can reduce, sometimes drastically, any Social Security benefits, spousal, survivor, or even your own retirement benefit, if WEP applies, that you might otherwise be entitled to.
GPO and WEP. Okay, those sound like things you definitely need to understand if you have a non-covered pension.
Absolutely. It's a very complex area. While the sources suggest having a government pension doesn't automatically block eligibility for spousal benefits entirely, the GPO can often reduce the spousal benefit by 2/3 of the amount of your government pension, potentially wiping it out completely.
Wow, 2/3 reduction. That could easily eliminate it.
It often does. So the best advice here is, if you have a pension from non-covered work, you absolutely need to contact Social Security directly. They can explain how the GPO or WEP might apply to your specific situation and calculate any potential likely reduced spousal or survivor benefit you might still get. Don't just assume based on the general rules.
Definitely get a personalized calculation from SSA if you have a government pension.
Yeah.
Okay. We've talked a lot about divorced spouses, and we debunked the big myth that your claim affects your ex. But let's just quickly reiterate those key points one more time, because I know they're such a source of worry for people navigating divorce and retirement.
Absolutely worth repeating because it's so crucial for peace of mind for divorced individuals. So if you qualify for divorced spouse benefits based on your ex-spouse's record, met the 10-year marriage rule, you're unmarried, you're both old enough, etc. Point number 1. Your ex-spouse will not be notified by the Social Security Administration that you have applied for or that you are receiving these benefits. Their privacy is maintained.
No notification. Good.
Point number 2. Your ex-spouse cannot prevent you from receiving these benefits. Doesn't matter what they think, doesn't matter what your divorce decree might say, unless it's a specific type of qualified order, which is rare in this context. Your eligibility is based on federal law, not their consent.
Cannot be blocked. Excellent.
And point number 3. You do not need to ask their permission. You don't need their signature. You don't even need to inform them that you are applying if you don't wish to.
No permission needed. That level of independence is just incredibly empowering, isn't it? Especially for people trying to secure their own financial footing in retirement after a divorce.
Absolutely. It's designed to recognize the economic partnership during the marriage, even if the marriage itself has ended. It separates the benefit eligibility from the current personal relationship.
Okay. Finally, before we wrap up this section on practicalities, let's just briefly touch on survivor benefits. How do these spousal benefits we've been discussing connect, if at all, with the possibility of receiving benefits if your partner or maybe your ex-partner passes away?
Right. Survivor benefits. That's another distinct category within Social Security, paid to eligible family members, typically surviving spouses, ex-spouses in some cases, and sometimes children when a worker who paid into Social Security dies.
Okay, so it's a separate type of benefit triggered by death.
Correct. If your spouse or your qualifying ex-spouse, again, usually needing that 10-plus year marriage, passes away, you may become eligible for survivor benefits based on their earnings record. And importantly, the potential survivor benefit amount can often be higher than the spousal benefit you might have been receiving while they were alive. A widow or widower can potentially receive up to 100% of what the deceased worker was receiving or was entitled to receive at their FRA or at death.
Up to 100%. That's significantly more than the 50% maximum for spousal benefits.
Exactly. So it's a very valuable benefit. Now, what's crucial to understand here is how your previous claiming decision, maybe on a spousal benefit, might affect a potential survivor benefit later on.
Okay, how does that connection work? Does claiming a reduced spousal benefit hurt your survivor benefit?
Not necessarily in the way you might think. Let's use that example from the MFS source about Kelly. It illustrates this well. Kelly applied for her spousal benefit early, say at age 62. As we know, that meant her spousal benefit was permanently reduced because she claimed it before her own FRA.
Right, she got a smaller spousal check.
Okay. Now, fast forward. Her spouse unfortunately passes away later, when Kelly is now age 67. At age 67, Kelly has reached her full retirement age. Because she had reached her FRA by the time she became eligible for the survivor benefit, she was entitled to receive 100% of her deceased spouse's benefit amount, or what they were entitled to.
Wait, even though her spousal benefit was reduced because she claimed that early?
Yes. That earlier reduction on her spousal benefit did not carry over and permanently reduce her later survivor benefit, provided she was at or over her own full retirement age when she claimed the survivor benefit. The two benefits have somewhat separate age reduction rules.
Wow, that is a huge point. So taking a reduced spousal benefit early doesn't automatically lock you into a reduced survivor benefit later on, as long as you wait until your FRA to claim the survivor benefit itself. That significantly impacts strategic decisions.
It really does. It highlights that these different benefit types, retirement, spousal, survivor, are interconnected, but also have distinct rules, especially around age and reductions. And that Johnny Carson example, which I think was in the Fidelity source, illustrates another point about survivor benefits, particularly for ex-spouses.
What did that show?
It basically showed that multiple ex-spouses, assuming they each independently meet the criteria married 10-plus years to Carson, were unmarried at the time they claimed survivor benefits, or remarried after age 60, and were old enough could all potentially collect survivor benefits based on his record. And importantly, one ex-spouse's claim did not diminish the benefit received by his surviving spouse at the time of his death. nor did it diminish the benefits received by any other qualifying ex-spouses.
So multiple exes plus a current widow could all potentially draw survivor benefits.
If they all meet the individual eligibility rules, yes. Again, it's based on eligibility derived from the worker's PIA and the survivor benefit rules, not from dividing up a single fixed pot of money among claimants.
That's quite the illustration of how far-reaching and independent these various benefits can be, all stemming from one person's work history. Okay, we have covered a tremendous amount of ground here, from the basics and eligibility through the calculation nuances, the reductions, busting myths, touching on GPOEP, and even survivor benefits. Now, for someone listening who's thinking, okay, this sounds like it might apply to me, how do they actually go about making the decision about when to claim? And then what are the practical steps to actually apply?
Right. The what next part. Making the decision about when to claim your spousal benefit is maybe the most strategic piece of this whole process. And honestly, there's no single right answer that fits everyone. It's deeply personal. It really depends on your specific individual circumstances.
What kinds of factors should people be weighing?
Several key things. Definitely your current and anticipated future income needs. Do you need the money sooner, even if it's less per month? Your health status and your estimated longevity, the longer you expect to live, generally the more valuable waiting for a higher monthly benefit becomes over your lifetime. Your partner's claiming status and age, especially if you're currently married. And crucially, how this fits into your overall retirement savings and investment plan. Social Security is just one piece, right?
Absolutely. So it's really about weighing that immediate need for income now against the potential long-term gain of a higher monthly amount by waiting, kind of like we saw with Claire.
Exactly. Claire's case perfectly illustrated that trade-off. Claiming early at 64 got her $900 immediately, but that was permanently reduced. Waiting to her FRA at 67 boosted it significantly to $1,200. Waiting even longer to 70 only helped if her own benefit grew larger than the spousal amount. You really need to assess your own situation against these potential outcomes.
And just to reiterate the timing for the spousal benefit itself?
Right. Claiming your spousal benefit at your own FRA is the age that maximizes that specific spousal benefit. It gets you the full 50% of your partner's PIA. But, as Claire showed, delaying your own retirement benefit past your FRA, if you have one, can increase that benefit, potentially making it higher than the spousal benefit later on. It's this complex interplay that really needs to be integrated into your broader retirement income strategy.
That integration point feels really key. It's not a decision made in a vacuum. Okay, so once someone has thought through their situation, maybe run some numbers, and they're ready to explore actually applying, what are the concrete steps to do that? How do you apply?
The sources provide pretty clear guidance on how to apply for Social Security benefits, and this includes spousal benefits. Probably the most convenient way for many people, assuming you are within about 3 months of turning age 62 or you're already older, is to apply online. You can do that directly through the Social Security Administration's official website,
which is ssa.gov.
That's the one, ssa.gov. The online application is usually designed to be the fastest and most efficient method.
Is applying online the only option? What if someone isn't comfortable with that or doesn't have easy access?
No, it's definitely not the only option. You can also apply by phone, or you can apply in person at a local office.
Okay, how does the phone application work?
To apply by phone, you can call the SSA National 800 number. That number is 1-800-772-1213. If you happen to be deaf or hard of hearing, the TTY number is 1-800-325-0778. Their phone lines are typically available on weekdays, generally Monday through Friday, from about 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. local time across the country.
800-772-1212.
Got it. And the in-person option.
You can also visit your local Social Security office. The sources strongly recommend making an appointment beforehand if you choose the in-person route. Walk-ins are usually possible, but wait times can be very long, so calling ahead to schedule an appointment can save you a lot of time and hassle.
Making an appointment definitely sounds like a smart tip for the local office. Is there any other advice to maybe make the application process itself go a bit smoother, regardless of how you apply? Yes. A really helpful thing is to try and gather the necessary documents before you start the application. Having the information ready can speed things along significantly.
What kinds of documents are we talking about?
It can vary slightly, but generally you'll likely need things like your original birth certificate or other proof of age, your Social Security card, or at least your number, your spouse's, or maybe your ex-spouse's, Social Security number is usually essential, your marriage certificate. And if you're applying as a divorced spouse, you'll typically need your final divorce decree. Having these kinds of documents organized and handy before you call or go online will make the process much quicker and easier.
That makes sense. Be prepared. Okay, and where can listeners go if they feel they need more information or maybe some personalized assistance with their specific situation? Because as we've discussed, this can get quite complex, especially with interacting benefits or things like GPO.
Absolutely. The first and best place should always be the official Social Security Administration website, again, FSA.gov. It is packed with accurate, detailed information. They have specific sections covering retirement benefits, family benefits like spousal benefits, dedicated information for divorced spouses, survivor benefits, all of it.
Do they have tools online too?
Yes, very helpful online tools. They have calculators that can help you estimate your own retirement benefit, find your full retirement age, understand how the earnings test limits work, and importantly, they have a specific calculator designed to help you estimate potential benefits as a spouse. Using those calculators can give you a good starting point.
Okay, so SSA.gov is the primary source for info and tools. What about other help?
Well, beyond the SSA itself, talking to a trusted financial advisor or maybe an investment professional can be really invaluable. They can help you understand how potential Social Security benefits, including any spousal benefits, fit into your overall retirement income picture. Considering your pensions, your 401k, IRAs, other assets, other income sources, they help with that integration piece.
Right, putting Social Security in context.
Exactly. And resources like the National Council on Aging's Benefits Checkup tool were also mentioned in the materials as another place where you can potentially screen for various benefits you might be eligible for, not just Social Security.
So start with SSA's official resources, definitely use their online tools, and maybe consider professional financial help for integrating it all. What's the final piece of advice then for someone who's listening and maybe still feels a bit overwhelmed by all the rules or isn't quite sure if they even qualify for anything?
My best advice is, don't let the complexity deter you from exploring it further. Reach out directly to the Social Security Administration. Call that 800 number or make an appointment at your local office. Their representatives are specifically trained to navigate all these rules and complexities.
They deal with this every day.
Every single day. They can look at your unique work history, your partner's history if you have their SSN, your age, your marital status, current or divorced, and they can help you understand precisely what you might be eligible for and what your potential benefit amounts could look like at different claiming ages. Even if you're really unsure, the only way to get an official determination is to apply. Let SSA review your and tell you definitively. They're there to help you figure out your options.
That personalized guidance from SSA really does sound essential, especially in complex cases. Okay, wow. We have taken a pretty exhaustive deep dive into Social Security spousal benefits today, pulling together all those threads from the SSA site, AARP, NCOA, MFS, and Right Law.
We certainly have covered a lot of ground. We started with the foundation explaining that spousal benefits are really a historical safety net, allowing individuals to claim based on a partner's earnings record, even if they had limited or maybe no work history of their own. We meticulously went through the eligibility criteria for both currently married and divorced individuals. We highlighted those key requirements like the marriage duration, 1 year for current, 10 for divorced, the age requirements, usually 62 plus, and those critical differences regarding whether the partner or ex-partner needs to have already filed for their own benefits.
Yeah, the filing requirement differences were key, and we definitely tackled the numbers head on, showing how your potential benefit is calculated based on your partner's PIA, that full retirement age amount, and crucially, demonstrating with examples like Claire's case, how profoundly your own claiming age impacts the amount you receive, especially that permanent reduction that happens when you claim before your own full retirement age.
Right, and we also clarified that important point. Claiming spousal benefits after your FRA doesn't increase them beyond that 50% maximum. No delayed credits for spousal benefits.
And maybe most importantly for a lot of listeners, we really firmly debunked those significant myths. Your claiming spousal benefits absolutely does not reduce your partner's or ex-partner's benefit amount. That's huge. And for qualifying divorced spouses, your ex will not know you've applied and they cannot block your claim.
Essential takeaways. We also touched on those practicalities like working while receiving benefits under the earnings test, and how those old complex filing strategies like file and switch are largely gone for newer retirees.
So, distilling it all down, the key takeaways for everyone listening feel very clear after this exploration.
Please do not just assume you are ineligible for spousal benefits, especially if you have a limited work history yourself, or if you're divorced after a marriage of 10 years or more. These benefits were designed precisely for situations like yours. Look into it.
Absolutely. Don't count yourself out.
Number 2, your age when you choose to claim your spousal benefit is the primary factor determining your monthly amount. Waiting until your own full retirement age is the only way to receive the maximum potential 50% of your partner's PIA. Claiming early means a smaller check permanently.
Critical point on timing.
Number 3, Social Security handles the comparison between your own benefit and any spousal benefit you're eligible for. They will automatically pay you the higher amount you're entitled to at the time you claim, under the current deemed filing rules. You do not need your ex-spouse's permission, and your claim does not harm their benefit in any way.
Removes a lot of worry there.
And number 4, given all the complexities, especially if you have your own work record or a government pension or you're divorced, and considering the potentially significant financial impact of these decisions, reaching out directly to the Social Security Administration or consulting with a trusted financial professional is really highly recommended. Get personalized advice to understand your specific claiming options and how they fit into your overall retirement plan.
Those 4 points really do encapsulate the most vital information needed to approach this topic effectively, I think.
I agree. Understanding these details isn't just about, navigating government bureaucracy. It's potentially about optimizing your financial security and maybe unlocking retirement income that you are genuinely entitled to but might have otherwise missed.
Which leads us nicely, I think, into our provocative thought for you to consider as you finish listening to this deep dive.
Okay, let's hear it.
Given all the intricate rules we've discussed, the often overlooked eligibility criteria, especially for divorced spouses, and the significant financial implications of timing your claim that we've explored today, what other areas of your personal financial life might hold similarly hidden opportunities or perhaps critical decisions that simply require a little bit of focused attention, digging into the details, and maybe just asking the right questions?
That's a powerful thought to sit with. Where else might we be leaving money or opportunity on the table just by not digging a little deeper? Fantastic. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Social Security spousal benefits.